Okay, my name is Sean Cahil, and that's my stage name. And the Sean is spelled with a T-A-N. And I got that from Robert Graves' Mammon and the Black Goddess, which I read a number of years ago, and he explains how the name Tan and the feminine Tana were the original name of god and goddess all over Europe and the Mediterranean area. And the name survives today as John, most commonly in English culture, but also as Ian and Sean, Norwegian Sun, Portuguese João, and so on and so forth. Diana, Denai, and so on for the feminine version. And Sean is also the name that resonates in my heart. I was named LaMont West Jr. by my father, and after 50 years of going by that, it's still my legal name, but I changed my friendship name to Sean because it resonates in my heart. When I heard other people called that, it raised something within me. And I did some research in Australia on sign language, but also on religion, culture, and folklore, and so on, and music. And learned to play the didgeridoo there, brought it back to the United States, taught didgeridoo at the Experimental College at the University of Washington years and years ago. And then in 1994, they'd been having a didgeridoo panel for several years, and more thousands of people showed up each year, and we were at the stage out by the Space Needle. I forget the name of the stage that year. And it was a didgeridoo panel, and for the first year I got to sing along and hit click sticks and swing a bull roarer and do some dancing and trained some women to do the women's dance and some young men to do the men's dance, and we made quite a show of it. And at the end of that performance, there were 9 didgeridoo players on stage and me, and we formed a band. And for a long time we were just acoustic. If I'd get a gig, one of the 9 didgeridoo players was likely to be available to share it with me. So we went along like that. And then a couple years later, Michael Spots and Carl Sackstetter wanted to form an electronic band. Michael was a keyboard player, and Carl Sackstetter was a marvelous didgeridoo player. He could make his lips do anything, inside a didgeridoo or just out in the open air, so you could see how he did it. And so we formed a group called Primal Fusion. And for a number of years, if we get an acoustic gig, we'd be Tribal Voices, and all the same people. And if we got an electronic gig, we were Primal Fusion. And then Carl dropped out, went back to Chicago, and the rest of us continued, and we decided to consolidate on the name Tribal Voices. It seemed to be better known. And I picked that name deliberately, having listened to an Australian half-black, half-white group called Yothu Yindi. And one of their songs was, "Listen to Your Tribal Voice." So that was where I got the idea for our band's name. And then on Vashon Island, where I live, Earth Fair was founded in 1997. And already our band liked to open. We've sort of made a career of opening. Many young bands will open when they're just getting started, but if they're still opening for other bands after a few years, then people think they're on the slide. Well, we've never done anything except open. And because of that, we get to play longer than anybody else. We get there real early. I get there 3 hours before we're scheduled to play. And as soon as the sound system is set up, they let us start. And this is a real good thing because we do improv. And there are new people every time who've never played with us before, although they've done improv with other groups or themselves. So we get to play 2-3 hours. If we have a two-day gig like Hempfest, this will be our 16th year, or was our 16th year in August of this year, opening Hempfest Sealy Stage. And we got to play an hour and a half Saturday and an hour and a half Sunday. So it gives us 3 hours for making a CD. The 3 years previously, we got 2 hours each day, and like that. So we've made a CD there every year.
Show the CD.
Yeah, here's the copy of the CD. It says Tribal Voices at last, because I've finally got more than myself to sing. Some of the other members sang this that year. And also it was the first time we did rock and roll. For years and years we were what we called world beat. And then for a number of years we were into freed jazz. And I got the name for that out of a freed books program on Vashon Island, where people would donate books and then they would be given away rather than sold. So freed jazz. But last year for the first time we really did rock and roll. And this year our rock and roll was laced with Mozart, Brahms, Schubert. It sounded like mid-19th century romantic stuff, a lot of it. Mozart wouldn't have been familiar with the drum set, but he would have loved it. And he would have been very at home with our quintet. We had flute, keyboard, drum set, bass, and lead guitar. And we had a couple singers, but the quintet was doing so well that we dropped out and listened for most of our set. So you never know what's going to happen with improv. A lifetime of listening to classical music, folk music, ethnic, pops, rock and roll, country, rockabilly, you name it. I've heard it, and somewhere it's in there. I don't remember consciously, you know, but when it's time for me to make something up, I don't make it up new. It would be too alien. People wouldn't want to listen to it. So I steal. I improvise by plagiarizing, and all the great composers did that. Tchaikovsky was famous for it. Mozart was probably one of the world's best improvers ever. He was so busy making up new stuff that he hardly ever stole from anybody else. But Beethoven did, and Brahms did, all of them. And they stole from each other as well. So when they stole from each other, they acknowledged it. They called it variations. So we're doing variations on the human capacity for improvisation. And I'm promoting that. I've devoted my lifetime. I'm 82 years old now. I'm just getting going. 18 years with the same band. I'm going for 60 years with the same band. I'm going to live another 44 years. I'll be 126 when I transmogrify. And transmogrify means shapeshift. And I'm beginning to get a hint of how to do that. It's implicit in the body's natural healing system. Not only to be able to replicate and get things back pretty much the way they were before, but to make changes. Sometimes the body needs changes to be made. And so we do have that capacity. And other animals have the capacity to regrow tails. Some lizards can do that, or even legs. There are a lot of clues in real scientific nature to how to go about shifting the whole body. Into what? Oh, I don't know. Let's call it a Sasquatch. A creature who can change density at will. I would love to be able to go strolling through the rock of the earth. I would love to be able to go floating up into space, and certainly up in the atmosphere. And to do that, you have to be able to expand all your molecules equally, or shrink them all equally.
Are you on Facebook, Twitter?
No, I don't have access to even a cell phone, nothing. I don't do computer. My mind connects, my heart connects, my whole body connects to other people so easily. You know, I've never needed sex to reach intimacy. I reach intimacy with anyone who pays attention to me. And I can feel the insides of their bodies. I can, not word for word what they're thinking, but we get in sort of a synchronicity of thought together. And most people with whom this happens acknowledge it. They're happy to acknowledge it, to feel safe with someone like me who's not going to take advantage of it, for whom it is such a common experience that I don't need it with anyone in particular. I'm happy to meet and say goodbye.
So it's time to say goodbye. How would you like to say goodbye?
I'll say goodbye by claiming Bumbershoot. Bumbershoot was founded on greed, gluttony, and enthusiastic American celebration thereof. Paul Dorpat and I and several thousand other people were out at the Sky River Rock Festival. It was one of the first outdoor rock festivals in the Seattle area. And Paul made a film of 1,500 naked people, men and women, young and some old, but mostly young, stuffing their faces while sunbathing in a dry riverbed. And he circulated that film among some of the people who ended up as the 7-reel or 6-reel or whatever it is that runs this festival. And because of that, we created this festival together. And I was here for the first year, and then I didn't come for about 12 years, but rediscovered it. And I've been coming ever since, dancing at every stage. Sometimes I've never played here. My band used to be invited to apply every year, but we never got accepted because we never promoted ourselves. But I've been here and I've danced with everybody, and I want to say that I'm proud of us, that we are the kind of Americans who could stand up for our way of life and enjoy it. And we're out here in the thousands in the sunshine, stuffing our faces and listening to an overload of loud, beautiful music. And I just heard a young woman, I think she was from the Netherlands, and a young man from the Netherlands. He was on synthesizer, and she had a synthesizer and voice, and he had a voice. And between them, they sounded like about 20 elephants. And they were wonderful. And the experiments that have gone on here through the years, that's what we wanted Bumbershoot to be, and that's what it is, and that's what it will always be. For 50 years coming, there's going to be more and more creativity here. And that's what we're doing it for. Yay! Yeah.